Hello, everybody. This is Tracy with the Health and Fitness Show with Tracy. And if you have followed the show, you know about me. If not, if you're new, welcome. I have been in the fitness industry. I'm Tracy Markley. I've been in the fitness industry for almost 30 years, fitness and health, and I'm author of 14 books. And I used to do the Health and Fitness Show with Tracy on KXR radio station in Florence, Oregon. Now about a year later now, haven't done it. I brought it back to podcast. And sometimes I'll be interviewing people, and sometimes it's just me talking about some healthcare subject. But today, I'm really excited about my guest. I'm always excited about my guest, but this one's just so joyful. And she's been, like many of us, been through so many things in her life, but she has strength and brought joy to the world. And she wants to help and inspiring people, encouraging them. Her name is Cynthia Joi, aka Strength. She's a founder of founder of Strength in You. She is a mom, a wife, a motivational speaker, a podcast personality, a student, a published writer, a published author on Amazon. Her book is fun. Oh, fun part. She's a laughologist, creator and a child of God who loves karaoke, dancing, and making everyone smile. She's constantly reinventing herself and learning more about her purpose in life. And although she's had a stroke, she is a stroke survivor. She reaches out, and one of her big parts of her life, which she uses as her purpose, is to encourage and bring empowerment and joy and laughter to stroke survivors. So welcome, Joy.
Hey, Tracy, Sugarfoot, Sweet Face, Honey Love. Hey, girl, hey.
She calls me Sugar Feet. I love it. I love it. Okay, so Joy, where do we begin? So did I share everything about you? I know there's probably so much more.
It's so much. There's a lot going on with me, but no, that's perfect. You did. But I will say I was just put into an honorary listy of who's.
That's awesome. I did that once. I don't know how many years ago. It's fun. And
Yes,
you
awesome.
get your plaque.
It's on the way.
Yeah, it's fun. You hang it. Okay, so let's start with you sharing about your stroke, and also that you lost your mother at 10 years old to a stroke, and anything you want to share about that.
Let's see, how would I start this? Let me just start then. So let me get right on into this thing. As my Sugarfoot said, I am a stroke survivor, y'all. So let me tell you right now, don't ever call me disabled. Don't ever call me the handicap. I am handicapable, and I have a different ability, like we all do. We all have a different ability. So don't put a diss on my ability, because there's no not to that. I can do everything that you do. It just looks different. But okay. So I had a stroke back in 2014, August of 2014. I couldn't walk, talk, or swallow afterwards, left me with left side deficits. So I have weakness on my left side. I can't open and close my hand freely, and my toes don't move. And I'm just now getting movement of my ankle, but it was a hemorrhagic stroke due to stupidity and to genetics. Genetic part of it was my mom died when I was 10 years old from a stroke, because unfortunately that was just back in the day, and it was a different time, and just certain things wasn't at the forefront of life, like medication in the African American community. So my mom wasn't taking her medicine, and she also was a user of drugs. So I'm sure that added to her stroke. But I was 10 years old, and my dad also had a stroke. But he's still alive, thankfully. Thank God. He's still in the building. I was about 15 when he had his stroke. I'm not sure the kind, but we both got the same deficits, which is kind of funny. But the stupidity part, I say, comes from me not taking my medication. They gave me medicine, but because my ignorance didn't know that medicine was trial and error, I felt like that they was just doing the guinea pig thing on me, and they kept switching my medicine. So I was like, well, since you don't know what I'm supposed to take, I'm not going to take anything. So that was my own mistake, and that's why my stroke happened, because I didn't take
Was it high blood pressure and cholesterol medicine type of thing?
It was just high blood pressure medication. I was diagnosed with hypertension back when I was maybe 22, but again, I was young. And when my mom died when I was 10, my dad was on drugs. So he still didn't really teach me how to prevent it from happening to me,
Yeah.
So I see you got a question. Well, boo.
No, I
Yeah.
just, yeah, yeah.
So he never
But
taught me.
you never think things are going to happen to you. We always have that.
I was
Not gonna
just gonna say I was 22 years old. I was ignorant and naive and not thinking, it can't happen to me. I'm only 22 years old. And then I thought, well, somebody told me, and I listened to people, and they was like, well, you don't need medicine. If you just exercise and you drink water and do what you're supposed to do, you don't have to worry about the medicine. And so I listened to that instead of listening to my doctor, the professional who said, hey, lady, take this medicine. So again, just young and dumb, not really knowing and thinking nothing can happen to me like we often do. And then when I was 28, I was actually driving to go and sign the paperwork for our house to get our house keys. And I was so excited about that part that I didn't pay attention to my body. So while driving, I went and stopped to get food for my kids who were at that time 1 and 4. And so I went through the Wendy's drive-through, and when you're sitting there, you're waiting for them to hand you your food. Well, while I was sitting there, I passed out behind the wheel, and my foot came off the gas, and my car started rolling into traffic. So luckily, there was a friend in the car with me. I wish he would have stopped me before I made it to traffic, but neither here nor there. We made it to the middle of the street. He finally woke me up. And when I came to, instead of me carrying my crazy self to the hospital, I drove to get the keys to the house that I was getting. So I ignored all of that. So time went on and I forgot all about passing out behind the wheel and I just let life go on. So a year later, after living in this brand new house, I was cleaning up, shampooing my carpets, and I just didn't feel like myself. I can't really tell you what was going on. It just, I felt different. And you know how your foot goes to sleep and you get those tingles and all that kind of stuff. My foot went to sleep, so I stomped on it to wake it up. It woke up, so I thought, well, maybe I'm hungry because I hadn't eaten. So I'm like, well, let me go and get something to eat. Came down the stairs, went and sat in the living room because I felt dizzy. Well, as soon as I sat down, I had to go to the bathroom. Well, I stood up and I hit the floor. When I hit the floor, I remember peeing on myself. I vomited. And by this time, my husband was calling me back because I had already called him and said, I don't know what's wrong with me, but I don't feel right. By the time he was calling me back, I was already passed out. And my 4-year-old answered the phone and said, Mommy needs help. And all I can remember about that day in particular was my neighbors, luckily they were in my garage fixing my truck at the time. One of them came in and said, Joy, stick your tongue out. And when I did, she said, you're having a stroke. I still hadn't processed what that was, what that meant, and what my life was going to look like after that. So I just didn't pay attention to it. So I remember getting in the hospital and the left arm that has a deficit now, I was throwing that thing everywhere. It worked real good at the time. So I was throwing my arm. I beat the hell out of a couple nurses. I had to apologize after I came back to reality. But yeah, I just remember waking up in the hospital after all the welling and all that. I passed out again.
Was it days later or hours later or?
I passed out maybe minutes later after I was welling my arm all over.
Okay.
And then I woke up weeks later.
Yeah. So you're out.
I was out. And then I remember waking up in rehab. And at first, I still hadn't processed that I had a stroke. But then I looked at my face and it was droopy. And of course, I couldn't control my slob and all that. And that's when my comedy side was born.
Did you talk
I
though?
started,
You
I
couldn't talk
started,
either?
huh?
You couldn't talk either, or could you talk?
Well, when I woke up in rehab, I I I couldn't fully talk. I had aphasia. I knew what I was trying to say, but it wasn't coming out the way that I was thinking I was saying it. So the jokes that I thought I had,
We're
they
coming
wasn't
out.
coming out so well. But I was still laughing at myself. I thought I was the funniest thing in the world, honey.
Oh, that's so funny.
But maybe about a week or so later, I was listening to music and all that kind of stuff. And at first, everybody knows you should be pissed off at God, which I was, because I was 31 years old. And here I am, can't do nothing. I've been a hair braider for years, for over 10 years, and I couldn't do that anymore. And so it was just so many things I was frustrated and mad about. But music was my go-to. I love music. So I played a lot of music and then I started singing. And eventually, those words that I couldn't quite get out, I could sing. And that's how I think I started to get my speech back because I was singing. When I would talk to people, I would sing it.
And I don't know if you know this part, but I was listening to a neuroscientist lecture, and he was talking about the first. I don't remember if he said the first 3 months or the first 6 months after stroke. If you
Uh-huh.
play your favorite music, it helps you get speaking back. It helps you recover better. And I've had aphasia clients that couldn't speak, but they could sing songs. They could sing sentences, sing happy birthday, but they could not speak the sentences. So I tell them, okay, so sing. So one guy, he was like in his 80s. I tried to get him and his wife, to say, oh, what do you want for dinner tonight? Like sing their communication. And they just
Right.
kind of laugh. I don't think they did it, but I always wondered would that have helped? Because
Definitely help. And I think it was because I listened to all my favorite songs and stuff like that. And I also think my mindset changed a lot. That initial feeling of why me, God, I'm mad, I was pissed, like that initial feeling went away as soon as that next day I woke up and I thought about my mom and I recognized the fact she wasn't here after age 10 for me. So for me, the fact that I had a stroke just like her and I was still alive meant I still had a purpose for my pain. So then I kind of started to reinvent and recreate my thoughts of how I feel about the whole situation. Instead of, God, why me? It became, why not me? Who else can do this like me? And then that's when I was just like, can I curse? I don't know. But
I'm fine with it. Go ahead.
I was like, I'm the shit. Because I was like, who else lose all of the feeling? Because I had no feeling on my left side. I had what's called left side neglect, where I forgot my left side even existed. They would have to tell me like to look left and watch TV on the left or whatever to the left because I forgot that side was even there. But I was just like, who else could go through all of this and still want to give people stuff and still want to, be happy and love and laugh and all these things. So it was like, this was none but God. And sometimes you got to go through pains in order to find your pleasures. And so through all of this, I've been finding that that is who God made me to be. I've been joy since the day I was born. So that's the one thing the stroke couldn't steal from me. And so I started to just kind of look at little things that to me is huge now, like my name. That you can never take from me. So no matter how much pain I'm in, no matter what my deficits look like, no matter how set, no, just no matter what, I'm gonna always be joy. So I'm like, no matter what comes my way, my light gonna forever shine because I'm joy. I'm a bright light in any dark room. So that's what helps
And you
to,
can see that too. I see it when your social media posts and think times we've interacted. You just have this joy that just makes people feel good to be around.
thank you. I appreciate it.
That's how the man was in my first book, The Stroke of an Artist, which is also Your Stroke Your Seth. He was like that. And everyone that came to the gym, like, talked, even kids would run up and talk to him and sit by him. And the moms would be like, she doesn't like strangers. There's just something about him. And he wanted his story shared. So he had that energy to, you know, make the good out of it. And he had faith. I think the faith helps too. Faith in God, not being mad at God helps, helps.
Yes, it does. And to be honest, when I first had the stroke and I said I was mad, then I got over it. You have to make sure you surround yourself with like-minded people because I found that although I was feeling like I was feeling, my surroundings was changing a lot of what I was trying to keep within me. So for a long time, my faith was rocky. And it was kind of like, well, God, you keep doing all this stuff to me. Like, why you keep doing it to me? But it had a
It's
lot to
so
do,
common for people to have that.
but
It's
it
so
had a lot to do with what was coming in on the outside. See, if we stop letting the outside noise affect what we got going on inside, that could have never penetrated me. But because I guess I wasn't strong enough in my faith and confident enough in my thoughts, I let other people's thoughts affect what I was feeling with my spirit. So
well, plus
my
when you're recovering from a stroke, it's a lot of energy. Plus, trying to block off negative stuff is a lot of energy. Pain takes a lot of energy. So you're exhausted. So you don't always have the energy and strength to do everything you want to be, but you're exhausted. I mean, that's like with a lot of things in life. You're so exhausted. It's like trying to be positive. I just don't have the energy to ignore that. To ignore that. It's
absolutely,
not or you weren't strong. It's exhausting.
it's exhausting, and I think it takes strength to say you weak right now. That also takes the strength in you to say, you know what, today I just don't have it in me. I just can't take this today. You know what I mean? But I wasn't always like that because number one, when you think, unfortunately, the world we live in has created this. But when you think of a stroke survivor, you think weak, you think sad, you think depressed, you think um they I hate to use the word, but unfortunately people treat us like we stupid and it will be less than. So I already felt like I had something to prove because I'm only 31 and you will not treat me like I'm slow, or you will not treat me like I'm less than, or you will not treat me like I'm not going to walk around in sadness just because I had a stroke and that's what you say I'm supposed to look like. So that's when I started just saying, no, my stroke don't define me. Yeah, I'm a stroke survivor and yeah, it hurts. But how many people walking around every day in pain and it don't have nothing to do with their stroke or nothing else? It's just life sometimes. So I stopped putting myself in a box based on me being a stroke survivor. But it also is what made me feel like I had so much more to prove to even to other stroke survivors, to show them that we are not what happened to us. We are above our storm. Don't let your stroke or any trauma that you go through be the thing that define you. It's how you handle the thing that you go through. So I've been recreating myself and trying to create the people around me.
Well, you
So
think as social media wise and following you and seeing you, it appears that you have a great support system.
I think I have a decent support system. And I say that because I live 1,600 miles away from all of my family, all of my sisters, which are my biggest support. They are all in Chicago.
Where are you?
I'm in Colorado Springs. I've been in Colorado Springs for 18 years. And in my household, it's it's a different dynamic because like I said, I'm trying to restore my faith. Whereas my other half isn't where I'm at with that. So that's been a battle. So the support with my spirituality is shaky. So that's where the partial comes from. And then like with my friends, you can only talk so much to them because when it's something that deals with your relationship, they want to judge. And then when it's something that deals with stroke, they don't really understand. So
They
you can only
don't know what to do, so they distance themselves.
So how I get majority of my support, to be honest, is in what I created, which is my stroke support group every Friday. So every Friday is for people with trauma. We get together and we talk about everything and we don't focus around stroke because too often people get in those groups and it's, woe me, I'm so sad. And it's like, I get it. We all are hurting and we all are suffering and we're dealing. But do we want to sit and wallow in that sadness? Or do we want to use that sadness as a stepping stone to get us to where we want to be?
So
So
you started this group?
Yes, I started this group and we do it on Google Meet
Yeah.
every Friday. It'll be 3 o'clock, 3 o'clock Pacific, 4 Mountain, 5 Central, and 6 Eastern. And it's on Google Meet. And yeah, it's just judgment free. And we talk about any and everything. Nothing is off limits. When I tell you nothing, nothing. And that's because we all have different things that we, have going on. And I feel like
Still going on in everyday life. Yeah.
so we should have a safe space. I know a lot of groups I go to, they be like, well, we can't really talk about sex because this person don't well, we like to have sex. That's a
Yeah.
part of life. So I feel like certain groups, if you don't feel comfortable about the topic, maybe that's not your group. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have a group that's just open to everybody. So if you're not a everything type of person, my group won't be for you because it's filterless and everything. It's just open because I feel like when people are hurting sometime, they don't want to have to pick and choose their words. They want to be free to say whatever it is that the heart is feeling. That's what that
Yeah,
group
because their hurt and their struggle is already putting them restricted, and
right.
be restricted on top of your restriction is it's too much. It's overwhelming. It's hard. It's sad.
Yes.
It makes it
Absolutely.
sadder. Yeah.
And it's more of it's more of a support group. It's more than a support group. I meant it's more of a family
That's nice.
because yeah, I'm really trying to create family because I feel like too often when we go through things like stroke, you lose people who you thought were close to you, whether it's a friend or a family, and oftentimes God is removing some of these things from you on purpose to put the things that's necessary in your life. So with strength in you, I'm creating a family of accountability, of acceptance, of trustworthiness and honesty. We're not going to always like what each other say, but we're going to respect each other enough to be honest.
And when it comes to the faith and people fading in out of your life, and sometimes people are just butt heads. It's a far people are just butt heads. I
Yes.
can't say other words I won't right now. But then it's also like, I don't know, on your faith, but if people pray to all different things, angels, everything. But if people like ask angels or God or Jesus, whatever their faith is, to bring protection around them, and then people fade away, they have to go, well, there's a reason that person went away from you. Not that to protect you, kill you, but there's something that they may have that was maybe holding you back or in the way. And sometimes we got to remember that we've put it out there what we want. So some people fade away because it's meant to be. Some people fade away just because they don't want to be there. They don't know what to say. Like, all the I've lost all my parents and lost my dog. So much was going on so close together. Most people, well, it was during COVID too, but so many people just ran the other way.
Mm-hmm.
I did, and I still do my grieving absolutely alone because people just don't, or they go, "Oh, it's on your Facebook. You look so happy." It's like it's Facebook.
Right. You want me to get on Facebook? Yeah, I'm sad.
Mom died. It was a year ago. Yeah, I'd be like, my mom died 2 weeks ago. Of course I'm gonna have sadness. Just because you saw me smiling or do something happy on Facebook doesn't mean I'm not still grieving my mom. But that's okay. People have unrealistic things going on with you. So they're not there for you. I was just shocked through, like you're saying, people fade away. So I can share this story. So my dad, he also passed away too, but he was dating a woman that I used to babysit for down the street growing up.
Mhm.
And she used to do hair as well. I did hair. I used to do hair. I did hair because she did hair. So that's a common too. Um, I'd always looked up her. She'd come home and just pay me with all her tips. And I was like, oh, so cool. She makes like $80 a tip a day. Excellent. So anyway, so later on in life, my dad and her started dating. She had a stroke. And I didn't really know what a stroke was then. It was quite a while ago. She was 53. She had her stroke. I remember talking to him on the phone, and he's like, well, Jan's in the hospital. She had a stroke, blah, blah, blah. Then he went on for like 5 or 10 minutes to talk about how uncomfortable he is going to the hospitals and all this stuff. And I'm listening to him, finally went, I got to interrupt. And he's not someone who likes you interrupting. He was someone, if you talk back, if you interrupt or have your piece to say, you're interrupting as disrespectful. But I had to. I said, do you hear yourself? And he actually, I'm surprised he let me do it. I go, if you're in the hospital, would you want it to be about all your friends are uncomfortable? I go, nobody's comfortable at the hospitals. Who wakes up and goes, oh, I hope to go to the hospital to a friend today? Nobody wants to go there. I go, you can't just not go visit her and make this all about you. And he goes, oh my God, you're right. And he actually respected me saying it to him. I was shocked, but many people do that. They don't want to be around someone struggling, whether it's a stroke or anything they're going through, because they don't know what to say or do. So it becomes all about them.
I actually heard something similar to that recently. Somebody said to me, I don't like disabled people around me. And of course, if that pissed me off, because although I consider myself handy capable, they don't change the fact that on paper, I'm a disabled person, even though I'm really trying to get that change to different abilities, because I really do feel like that's why people don't try as hard, because they've already put themselves in a box. But when I heard it, I was upset. But then after further getting into conversation with the person instead of just being mad, the reason was it's just hard for me to be around them because I don't know what to do or say. And my whole thing was, well, if you just put yourself in that position, most people just want you to treat them like regular. They don't
Yeah.
want you to, yeah, don't try to do nothing special. Just treat them as people because that's who they are. Like, it's not rocket science. I feel like sometimes people overthink things and they make it harder than it has to be.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and that's part of the reason why this different abilities is a thing for me. And I'm actually really working on it. I wrote a letter to the ADA and I'm really working on this because in doing these support groups and in being in part of support groups and all this stuff and having friends of different abilities, I'm learning when I hear them say, I'm disabled, I feel their spirit drop and they really feel like, well, I'm disabled. I just get a check. I can't do nothing else except for be disabled. So then they don't dream anymore. They don't go for their goals. They don't try as hard because they feel like I'm disabled. I'm in a wheelchair. I'm on a walker. I'm on this. I'm on that. And it's like, it doesn't change that you just have a different ability and it looks different when you do whatever it is you want to do, but it don't change that you can do it. It just looks different.
Plus, people sometimes and will say the word, oh, they're on disability, almost like they're some horrible person who has no life, who doesn't want to work, and they're an idiot, and they're faking their pain, and they're just trying to get money out of this. I mean, there's probably people like that, but there's people like that in everything in life. Everything you do,
Right.
someone
Every
who's not, doing it the right way. But yeah, it brings like a stigma sometimes, and you have to like, I'm not that, I'm not that.
right. Right. Because it's so funny that people be like, you're a stroke survivor, you don't look like it. And I'm like, well, what the hell a stroke survivor look like?
You guys are all affected differently and everyone recovers differently. Like you talk about your arm still doesn't work, but I have that book out there that can help people recover their arm, but it only helps people if their brain will recover the arm. I mean, if
Right.
the brain is never going to make those pathways or what it needs to do to create that movement, even if you know all the muscles and all the right exercises, it may not work for you.
Right. Like
And
for me
certain things
personally,
for people.
my tone is so aggressive. My spasticity is so aggressive that it just, no matter how much I've done with the Botox, with the serial splinting, I did therapy for 10 years. I've been in and out of therapy and I did everything they told me to do, and my arm is still tight. So now I'm forced to get the contraction release. I'm going to get that done on the 2nd, where they're going to just nip the tendon in my arm to release it because I don't.
You'll be able to use the arm. Well, wait, that's a dumb question. That's a dumb question because it's not
What
working
you
now.
say?
But I mean, I go, can you still use the arm? So if they cut the tendon, it will make it so it's
I can
released,
straighten it. Yeah.
but it won't help movement.
Well, in general, I have movement. It's just so tight that I can't.
Oh, okay. So it's gonna be interesting to see what it does for you.
Just like with my ankle. I don't know if you saw me get the surgery for my ankle to help.
Oh,
I had an Achilles tendon transfer for my ankle because it was so severely tight. And my foot was turning inward. It was getting deformed to where it would turn inward, and my ankle was rolling. So they did a tendon release transfer. Now my foot is flat. I could actually lift my ankle now, and I can feel. So I still can't move my toes yet, but I do get every now and then I get a little twitch, which is
which
better
is the
than,
brain trying to make it move.
right.
Going the
And
brain's trying to get there somehow. So
that's better than what I've had. Because at first it was so tight that my toes wouldn't do nothing. I was walking on top of my toenails. It was so painful.
I remember you tried to work out with Zoom those couple times, and Monica was there and everybody during during the COVID time.
Right.
You would just cramp up. It wasn't what I knew didn't work with your brain and the body, because it wasn't that your body was bad or what I did was bad. It was just I have
Right.
another client too. Well, I've had two stroke survivors. One was a brain injury from car accident.
Huh.
The more he tried to do certain things, the more his spasticity would go. But
Yeah.
he did surgery too. That helped him. He did the same thing. So
And he had the same problem I had. The more I tried, it seemed like the harder I went, the harder my tone was like, no, you're not.
yeah.
And so it's like this is the final step, but at the same time, this is another thing that I talk about when I say God uses people for different things. This is just a thing that I'm being used for to show people what can still happen and how you have to be positive through it and how you still have to put the work in. And because I mean, faith without work is dead. So you can pray as much as you want to pray, but if you're not doing what needs to be done to get the results,
Yeah.
it's pointless. You know what I mean? So
If you don't try it, you're not going to know if your body's ability to work with that. So you try different things.
yeah.
But it's been
And
10 years. So you've only had one stroke.
yes, I only had one stroke, but it was massive. Even they said at the hospital, you had a massive stroke, and it hit my basal ganglion. So they said that's the thing that tells your body what to do, how to move, and all that stuff. So that's what my stroke hit.
My stepdad once, so about a year before he got his bone cancer, um, I get a call from his cell phone, and I couldn't understand it. He was crying. So a woman gets on the phone. She goes, "I'm a nurse at such and such hospital. Your stepfather had a stroke."
Huh?
And he has just read my books, and he knows what I've done. And the few nights before that, I talked to him on the phone, and I would say, "Did you have a lot of?" He was slurring. I go, "Did you have an extra glass of wine tonight?" Maybe, and he would laugh. So he went 3 days like that. And he knew because he read my books and it scared him, and he didn't want to tell me. He made me think he had an extra glass of wine. And this is where you guys are listening. Listen to this story. So he didn't want to tell me. And then that morning, I guess, that he went to the hospital, he went to write something and he couldn't use his hand. So he thought, I better get myself to the damn hospital.
Mm.
So my girlfriend took me right because I had something happen to my back and she was taking me to the doctor. And right now I was going to the car, I got the call and we just turned away to the hospital instead. And they said, "Mr. Taplin, you are lucky because you had one of the worst strokes possible. You got it in the base of the pawn of the brain or whatever, base of the skull. You are lucky because he didn't have only side effect. He cries sometimes after, you get the breakdown crying. He was able to write again. He was fine, but he was also at the hospital going, if I'm not out by 3 o'clock, I'm walking the F out. Was not a good patient. And I'm like, stop being that way. But anyway, so some people can have something like that and it doesn't affect them the same way. So
Right.
but I remember my mom had to get a knee replacement 3 months later. And where we lived, they had hospital, but the hospital did the major stuff was Aaron. So she's there, she's getting knee replacement. I'm home. And he calls me and he's telling me that they lost my mom because he went to the wrong room waiting for her. So he's a little off sometimes like that. And he was crying. He's like, "They lost your mom. I can't find her." So I called the nurse and I said, "Go get him. He's over here." So he had some different things like that. And then it just stopped. And then he seemed fine. But they told him that he had it in the pawn of the brain, worse. Because when you read up on that, people, they can't walk, they can't talk, they can't swallow. This whole thing. I'm like, oh my God. But he was scared to tell me because of what I knew about strokes. I'm going to work with it. And it was so sad. It was so sad for him. But yeah, so everybody listening, if you have a stroke or think you have a stroke or question it, go to hospital.
Well, while we're talking about it, listen, y'all, let me tell you the acronym. Okay, be faster is real. Is real. Okay, be faster. Balance. If you notice somebody's balance is off and they can't catch it, eyes. They can't focus on you, or they just keep looking all over the place. Face. It starts to droop a little bit. Arm. They can't control their arm. Where am I at? S, speech. Speech. If they can't get their words out when you're talking to them, they stuttering a lot. That can also be a sign. T is time, and E is emergency, and R is the room. Be faster, guys. Okay, balance eyes, face, speech, time for the emergency room. This can save somebody's life. Be on the lookout.
With certain strokes, I think it was the kind of stroke you had. Now, the two major strokes people have, and there was a bunch of different ones. The time majorly matters because there's a shot you can get within 3 hours. I think it's 3 hours.
Oh, that's the ischemic, yeah.
Yes, they can stop the stroke from being worse and your recovery being better, but you have to get there. And if you don't go, you miss that time frame because time is essential. So you don't stay home and I'll go in the morning. You go.
Yes, and if ladies know this, okay, it can show up different for us than it does for men. Because we go through pain so much, I was also just doing some research on this different stuff, and it was talking about how women in general go through so many different body changes and so much pain on a regular basis that we don't pay attention to certain things. So you having extreme back pain and don't know where it's coming from, that can be a sign of something. Even neck pains. So any pains that you're having in your body that's not normal, and it just won't go away, please go get it checked out. You just never know what it is. Any pain, go check it out, please.
And a question for you. So when you had your stroke, I just stopped this when you were talking because you mentioned that both your parents had strokes. We also mentioned they both did drugs. I assumed you didn't. You didn't talk about you did them, right? You did drugs, right?
Not the kind they did, no.
So you were you like, was part of you also, well, I didn't do drugs, they did, so it's not going to happen to me?
Yeah, part of me, yeah. Because I thought that was the biggest factor. I didn't recognize that my mom wasn't taking her medicine. Neither one of my parents took their medicine. Both of them had high blood pressure. And I didn't really know what high blood pressure was, but I still didn't think about it because I just felt like, well, I ain't no crackhead. So because I wasn't no crackhead, that was enough for me to be okay. And
when we're younger, we just think that's all old people stuff. Right. You don't get blood pressure in your 20s. Where that happens when you're over 15, 60. It's older people. We don't. And how old was your mom when she had a stroke? In her 20s?
No, my mom was 36. 36. She died.
And she died.
And it took her out. It took her out.
Were you with her?
No, but I did go and visit her when it happened because when she had her, she actually had a bleed out. And so when I went to go see her, the blood was already coming out of her ears and everything. So it was really tough. But her eyes moved a little bit when I was holding her hand talking to her. So I still remember that. But I just feel like that had to happen for me to be able to appreciate being here now. Yeah. Like, had my mama not died when I was 10 years old, I don't think I would have been able to tell people right now that my stroke was the best thing that ever happened to me. When I say that, people be like, what? Yeah, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Because without it, I wouldn't have been able to, number one, recreate myself.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't see the beauty.
I would have a reason to want to, in a way.
Yeah. I would. Well, no, I had a reason because I already wanted to do things different for my kids. Okay. But I still didn't know what that looked like and what that meant because I don't think I valued my life yet like I should have. Because for a long time, I didn't see me with a future just because I grew up with crackhead parents who didn't really nurture me. So I didn't really think I had a future. I just knew I was going to die at 36, just like my mama, because I'm her namesake. So my logic was crazy. So I didn't really think about it. But
a lot of people think that way. I think some of the things, because of our childhood, some things just naturally happen. It's not like we're like negative or purposely being that way, but just kind of have this natural things like, God, all my parents did this, it's probably gonna happen to me. I mean, all my parents, you were kind of around. I think my stepdad passed away. We were working together or something. I can't remember. Because it was my stepdad, 4 months later, it was my dad, and then 6 months later it was my dog. My mom moved. It was just a bam, bam, bam of all this stuff. and in the middle dealing with my brother stealing money and all this stuff going on. It's just I don't even I was I couldn't see clients.
Right.
But it was too much. But where was I going with that? I was going with okay, we're talking what'd you just say? Our childhood or parents and things. I don't know. Either way, there's a point in there someplace. She's making a lot of good points. I'm just feeding into it. So okay, so let's talk about your book. And she has towards at the end of the book, she shares some poems. They're really good. Do you have them with you?
I do. I actually have my book sitting right here, guys.
Good.
Fight lives in the heart of a survivor. So let me tell you, this is more of a memoir. And it's about a really tough time in my life that I can remember. But it was part of what created me as far as my resilience and my strength and my passion for people and all that kind of stuff.
And you
But
shared some things in there, not to interrupt. You shared things in there, childhood and things you've gone through that a lot of people go through, they don't talk about. You don't
mhm,
want to talk about because people judge you because they didn't have that life. Some people have never gone through such heavy stuff.
yeah,
They judge you or they think, oh, you're this and that. They don't like they see you broken or they see you troubled. They don't see you as you know what I mean? They don't see you like some things we go through as childhood, it's not our fault. I mean, if we had kids and started beating them, it's not their fault. I mean,
right.
they're not, and I know some, and I believe people believe this. I don't know if I believe this. Some religions or spiritualities believe that we choose all the struggles we want to go through before we come to Earth. And I'm like, really? That's my
Somebody said that, but
I don't believe because I that kind of like so all these nobody's put that together and decided let's go have a happy life.
right.
So
I
I
don't
think
think that
people
either.
that
I
never
just,
struggled don't get it. Things some do, some
you know,
yeah.
I definitely feel like though, I feel like I don't want to say God does, but I want to say the spirit allows things to happen in order for you to strengthen yourself and see what you are actually capable of getting through.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I think about it.
Sometimes don't you go, I'm strong enough. Stop.
Right? And
And
sometimes I do, but at the same time, I recognize the more time go, I'll be like, oh, it had to been me. Like, let me tell you, I just started this new business venture as a financial coach, right? And I was getting clients to buy life policies and all this stuff because I do life insurance. And when they were supposed to send me my money direct deposit, my money wasn't going in there. So I'm like, what the heck my money? So I'm calling them and they're trying to tell me it's in the bank account, but it wasn't in the bank account. And I was just like, see, this keeps happening to me because only I would keep going through this with a smile on my face saying, hey, it's okay. So, life just happens to people and for certain reasons, and it's about your perception of it. Whether
yeah.
you want to see it as some horrific or if you just knowing this only could happen to me because I'm the only one who can deal with this crap and you know what I'm saying, still
I
be
had somebody tell me that it would only happen to you because you don't have to deal with it. You're strong.
okay.
And I'm like, oh, shut up. I don't want to be this strong. But you do, but
Like
you
me
don't, you
either.
know?
Like I don't want to either, but we don't have a choice, hence the name strength. Like but that's why I named myself strength and I named myself strength in my book because I feel like it was only strength that was able to help pull me out of being molested,
You
being
have this inner
I have
thing.
an inner strength like none other that God had to sit in my soul to be like, yeah, she ain't nothing but strength because to go through the stuff that I went through from the age of 4 and somebody to fondle you and then for other people to tell you it's your fault and then for others to ignore the situation and just get money so the other person can keep harming you. Like for all these different little things to happen, it had to take strength. And it had to also remind me it took all of those things to make me strong enough to deal with stroke. Had I not been through all those little things, even though they weren't little,
Big
it was
thing.
definitely
Yeah.
not little, but going through them made it able for me to deal with such a big thing with my life changing drastically because it wasn't just my life that was impacted by stroke. it was my kids and my husband as well. Everybody kind of was sick from my sickness. So yeah, that's where all that come from. But yeah, so because of all that, sometimes I have insomnia and I don't sleep well because my brain, you have a brain injury. Anybody with a brain injury knows your brain don't turn off sometimes. That thing just be talking and talking and you just be trying to go to sleep. So that's where my poems come from, because sometimes when I can't sleep, I'll just put it in my phone and I'll just start writing. So I would love to share a couple with you guys while we're talking about it, right? So, okay, I got this first one. I'm gonna start with the funny one. I ain't gonna start with
My favorite one.
Okay, guys, here we go. Tracy's so funny. She's so cute. Okay, get them moving, right? Get them moving. Life is an ass. Like a pair of tight boxer briefs, a boy's shorts right in there. When you bend over or you sit down, then you get back up, you know it's just in there in your butt. You got to pull them out and keep moving. Sometimes you got to dig a bit deep to get them out. But once you do, that sense of relief makes it so worth that slight irritation in your ass. Keep going forward with the strength in you.
I love that. So perfect.
Because y'all know life can be real sometimes, and sometimes a little deeper. You got to pull a little, get up in there, dig a little deep, pull it out. That's what life. You got to dig deep for your courage and your strength to push through what it is that life throw at you. But that's what you got to do, and when you do, you'll get a relief. Oh, your booty feel better, and everything is just in best spirits. But I got another one for you guys. Okay, this is one of my favorites. It's called Sometimes, right?
I have it.
Through life, you must strive because it's simple. It's simply a thing of life that won't die. Burden and pain is of everyday reality, man. Know you're strong and life goes on. You, my friend, are not a bum. You are nothing short of number one. Your energy radiates, your heart pulsates, and sometimes in your mind, you must meditate. Controlling those urges you put yourself down, remembering you're nobody's clown. You're strong, I tell you, it's a fact. You just couldn't tell because life is whack. It clouds your mind with despair, and you have to dare to be aware. Aware of your greatness, aware of your power, so that you may devour what makes you sour. Don't be discouraged. Just stay in the fight. The fight for your life, right? Right for who? Just for you, in order for you to no longer be blue. The strength for you is in you. Sometimes you find what's for you. No, sometimes to find what's for you, you got to smile and keep pushing through. It's easy to put yourself down when you're going through something alone. You got to find a way to stay strong. Anything worth having will be hard, and you better believe it, you're worth it. And achieve. Yes.
Those are so good. So those things help people. So I'm so proud of you for that. And so, okay, we're not done yet. So
Okay.
you, I know you told me you do it for yourself, the comedy things you've done for the comedy act. Can you share more about that?
Of course, girl, of course. So, okay, y'all, you know me as Cynthia Joi, as I was introduced, but my comedy name is a little ratchet because when I get the when I get that comedy, it's a little ratchet, meaning it's a little ghetto, it's a little hood. My comedy name is Juicy Joy, right?
I knew that. Okay.
Yeah, that's my comedy name, Juicy Joy. And it's just because when I get on the microphone and I'm not trying to inspire, I'm my Chicago self, which means I'm a little crazy. And so I make jokes about my stroke life. So one of my jokes, I'm always talking about, I love the stroke. I love the stroke from the left, from the right, the stroke with the hook. I love the stroke. So, but I really just do it for myself because I'm trying to empower stroke survivors to, number one, believe in their dreams and to go for them. A lot of us had dreams of maybe being a comedian, maybe being a singer, or whatever it was that we wanted to do. But because trauma happened, we started to feel that we can't because people are going to make fun of us. And for me, I'm like, well, hell, I look funny. I might as well get on the stage and try to be funny too. So that's why I love comedy, because I get to make fun of a traumatic situation, because funny stuff do happen with this stroke life. Like just trying to make it to the bathroom, I got to think about chicken so I don't pee on myself. So, it's little it's little things, and
And
my
laughter is healing. When
laughter
you
is
laugh and giggle, like when you sit down with girlfriends and just giggle, nothing feels better than that. I mean, there's probably other things that feel better, but that just feels, all the cells in your body feels just that being in the moment, giggling and laughing, and it's so good for people. The
absolutely, like I said.
narrator of my first book, he would laugh too. So he always was eating mints. So he had, like, I think his little um android, what are those, asteroids or something, little mints. I can't remember. He had them, and and his he lost peripheral on his left side. So sometimes I forget. I walked up to him to the left, and he didn't see me, so I'm right here, and I scare him. So one time he's in the hallway at the gym, and I went to say something to him. I didn't mean to do it, but I scared the crap out of him, and his mints just went flying all over the gym, and we couldn't stop laughing. It was hysterical, and I don't think other people thought it was funny, but we thought it was really funny. He was laughing all over the place because it was funny. He thought it was funny, and I did too. But I didn't mean to scare him. But sometimes that happens. Do you have peripheral vision loss in your left as well?
And it's funny because my left is fine. My
Oh,
right eye is what's messed up, and I think because my stroke hit the right side of the brain.
oh. So do you
It's
get that too? Someone comes up to your right, and you don't see them until they're here.
sometimes, yeah. It's
Okay.
just it's so weird how it works though. How I got deficits all on my left side, but my eye is fine.
That's probably good. So you can drive still.
Yes.
That's good. Some people can't.
And then when I go to the eye doctor, they tell me this one is great. This one is the right eye that has lost a little vision. So it's so weird. But
Yeah. Well, I think it's great you do all that you do, and I saw a video. I can't remember when I saw it. I don't know if it was an old one or a new one. You were outside playing hopscotch, and you had a husky with you.
oh yeah, that's my baby Zero. I lost him to cancer a few years ago. But yeah, that's an old video. That's kind of some of the stuff that I was doing when I first had my stroke, and I decided to come home and I wanted to play with my kids because they were only 2 and 5. So I'm like, I don't. Before my stroke, I was on the trampolines and all kind of stuff. So I had to find a way to be able to still do stuff with my kids and have fun. So I made hopscotch in front of the house, and we was out there playing, and I was teaching them because they from a new school. They don't know nothing about no hopscotch. So I was teaching them. But I'm actually finna start getting back into stuff like that and making more videos like that, because therapy is in our everyday lives, and it's in the stuff that we do that's fun, that we enjoy. It doesn't have to be you going to a therapist and you trying to step over cones and all that kind of stuff. That's all good, fine, and dandy, but you want to have therapy in your everyday life of things that you do so you can feel empowered to keep doing those things and know that you can actually accomplish them.
But
So,
yeah, and the more, like I always tell people, and it's all if their ability can do it, of course, the brain. But like when people need to learn to walk again, think of a baby learning to walk, and their toddlers learning to walk. They don't just stand up,
yeah.
twice a week on a time schedule. All day long they get up and they try. It's not like, oh, I can only do it Tuesdays at 2 o'clock, and then you don't do it again to the following Friday at 2 o'clock. It's like the brain needs the all the time. So if you're able to do things at home, it keeps your brain constantly trying
Absolutely.
to
I
work
think that's
skill.
one of the things that got me as strong as I am right now, is because like now I can jump. I'm working on running in place. So that all is because I think number one, I'm a daredevil stroke survivor. So I go and I'd be trying to jump and do crazy stuff that the average stroke survivor don't do. But I also think it's because they've programmed themselves. I'm disabled. So if I'm disabled, I can't jump because I'm disabled. But if you start telling yourself I have a different ability, you're gonna try whatever it is that it look like. Even if that means you come this far off the ground, you're gonna try, just because you're not limiting yourself to what you're able to do. So, but before I forget though, y'all, wait, before I forget, we was talking about this comedy. Y'all, if y'all want to catch some of my comedy, It's on my YouTube channel, The Strength in You. So
And
I
we'll
don't
put all the when we're done. I'm probably gonna up this in the next couple days.
know.
I'll put all the links in there as well. But tell everybody your links. We don't have to finish yet though. If you have to go, that's fine. But if you have a few more minutes, we won't go.
No, I got a few minutes. I'm good. I wanted to make sure I put that out there because we talked about that comedy. But
And I'm looking up someone right now to ask you about someone. I forgot his name right now, and I can't look him up. Keep talking. I was somebody I think you need to be on his show.
Okay, well, yeah,
In
definitely.
Australia, and I'm just blank on it. He interviewed me in 2017 from Australia. And as you're talking, like, oh, you guys need to talk. You guys need to be in the show
I
together.
wonder if you're talking about Cal. You ain't talking about Cal Caleb, are you?
No,
Okay.
Just blank on his name. Okay, I'm gonna go on YouTube. I'm on YouTube with him. Let me find his name.
Okay, well, definitely, y'all go find me on YouTube and you'll find all kind of videos. I'm even teaching people how to put on a bra with one hand. So if you need that demo, that's also on YouTube because I'm not shy, y'all. I teach women how to put on they pad with one hand, all kind of stuff because this is real life and you shouldn't be ashamed to go through the things that you're going through and you should have some support to help you learn how to do these things. So if you're curious and you want to see what it looks like, you can head over to their YouTube, The Strength in, and you'll be able to catch that video, put on a bra with one hand or cooking videos. I do all kind of videos because I have random moments. And if you're a brain injury survivor, you also know your brain be everywhere. So I'll be thinking of all kind of stuff. So I do it as I think about it. I just go.
Well, it means you listen to your gut and you're listening to yourself. That's also a reason why you've done so well and you keep, moving forward because you listen. If you listen to your gut, so important. And your ideas. Sometimes you just get an idea, and a lot of people ignore them.
I got a lot of ideas. So even if there is a seamstress listening to this and you're interested in helping me, I'm trying to create my clothing line for stroke survivors. I got all the designs, but I can't sew. I've been looking for somebody in Colorado, haven't found them, but there are many clothes I have in my mind because stroke survivors want to feel sexy. They want to feel, appealing. They don't want to just have to wear, old people clothes or whatever, or spandex or
Good idea.
I definitely have some things in my mind. So I would love to be able to incorporate this. So anybody who's open and willing to be on the team and we work together to make this thing a real thing for everybody, I'm your girl.
Look her up. Contact her. Okay, so the guy's name is Bill Gassimus.
I don't think I heard of him.
And he does the stroke recovery show. I'm looking at the thing. I don't want to mess it up right now. I don't want to make the thing talk. I'll send you his info. Anyway, 6 years ago. That's him there. 6 years ago, he interviewed me. He's had, I think, 3 strokes at that time. He's really cool. And when we were talking, he said to me, because we were just talking about how you can't just 2 days a week go to therapy and sit home all day. The rest of the time, every day you've got to do stuff. And he told me when he was in the hospital after one of his strokes, they only come around once a day to do therapy with you. He said he felt like 3 or 4 times that he could have got up and done more, but they wouldn't let him do it. So he shared that kind of stuff because when you're in the hospital, they only give you limited stuff as well. They're not with you, getting you out of bed 4 times to walk. They're not doing therapy as much as maybe your brain people can do it when they first have a stroke. So he had very interesting stuff, and I learned this from him, and it helped other clients. So this could help other stroke survivors too, who if it fits where they're at. So we talked about eating better. He knew what foods made him feel worse the next day. He figured out which foods made him feel more fatigued or had more spasticity the following day. But that worked for anybody else. But I've had someone, after my first book came out, I had a trainer, Becky, somewhere call me and say she's working with this client, a stroke survivor, and every time they're training, he cramps up and has pain. And my first thing was that, is he hydrating himself? So I told her, and your doctors can tell you different, but basically it's like take your body weight, cut it in half. So like 150-pound man should have 75 ounces of water. Cut it in half, that should be your ounces of water. And I go, this may not be his thing, but it takes about 30 days of drinking proper hydration amounts for your body to make it regularly and get your metabolism right. So he said he will commit to 30 days of doing that much water a day. And in the beginning of his third week, she called me and she said, "Oh my God, he's not cramping anymore and his pain stopped." That may not help anybody else, but that was his story. And Bill also had some stories like that too. And it's just very interesting, but not everybody's stories helps everybody. It just depends. It depends where their brains are,
Yeah,
and what's going on.
I know for me, my cramping definitely calmed down when I added more water to my diet, and when I added my
What
spasticity, it decreased when I
okay.
put water to my diet, and when I start taking potassium.
Oh, okay.
Potassium, water, and I actually was taking apple cider vinegar drinks in the morning. I would take a shot of apple cider vinegar, then drink a lot of water, then I'll have a cup of green tea or something. But yeah, I noticed I don't spaz out as much now that I drink a lot of water and I take potassium.
So
And
it did.
I
I think it's very important.
GMO processed foods. Once I cut down on processed foods too, and I eat fresher, it's a big difference.
Yeah, same. That's what Bill was sharing too. He would talk about like um eating more of the food that causes inflammation and processed stuff would cause them to have more the next couple days and stuff. And sometimes, like I've told my clients who have this works really well. Well, I think with stroke survivors as well, but before I worked with stroke survivors, people with fibromyalgia and rheumatoid arthritis, and sometimes migraines. I would keep a journal of your food and what you drink, not to judge and go, "Oh my God, I'm fat, I ate bad food," but just to keep a journal, then keep a journal of your pain. Because sometimes you may eat like maybe a salad with a bunch of tomatoes in it on Sunday night, but Tuesday afternoon you're cramping, or Tuesday afternoon you have a migraine. And sometimes you're like, if you have children and they take, well, even us too, if we get allergic to a medication or we start getting a rash or your kids get rashes from antibiotics, it doesn't happen that moment they take it. It's usually a couple days in.
Right.
What happens with food too. So I've tried to get many of my clients to keep a journal just for that. They might go, "Oh my God, 2 days after I have a glass of red wine, I always have more arthritis pain or something." Because it may just be a couple things, but it's not always that day or within 24 hours. It can be longer. And and sometimes when people talk about allergic reactions, they think it just means rash and hives, but you can have an allergic reaction maybe going on in your organs. There's inflammation about something, but you don't see it. So
Yeah.
if you journal, you may catch some things, but not everybody. It's just what it is. But when a lot of my people have worked with the fibromyalgia, cleaning up the diet, getting off sodas, cleaning up a lot of the things and following the pattern, they got rid of all their pain.
Yeah.
But you have to be consistent.
You have to be
Not
consistent.
something, "Oh, it worked last week, it's not working today." Like sometimes I try, if people go to drink water, like, "Oh, I'm just peeing all the time." So they stop like on the second day. It's like, no, you got to give your body time to learn how to balance it through your body and not pee it out. It takes a while. And at first you're like in the bathroom all the time. And everyone, "Hey, I don't want to drink water. It makes me pee too much." But in time, well, it may always happen to some people, but usually it calms down some. It depends. But I'm so glad you're here. Okay, one thing, you call yourself a laughologist. What is that?
I
Right?
can make you laugh. I make you laugh no matter what I'm doing. I don't have to be. See, comedians they literally got to get on the stage, get them a mic to make you laugh. A laughologist is make you laugh when they're around. See, you see how you're smiling right now, just being here, or when I'm like Sugarfoot, you get to laugh. Girl, I make you see, that's a laughologist right
I think called Sugarfoot. It's so cute. Would you text me? I got you, Sugarfoot. It's like, I love that. Let's see, what else in here do we have? One more question. Or maybe we can still talk to it later. Okay. And so one thing, I think you would be perfect to make a children's book about a parent that had a stroke.
Now, I didn't think about that one, but I'm actually working on a children's book where the kids of different abilities are the superheroes of some sort. I guess
Nice.
now I guess you wouldn't say superheroes. It's more of along the lines. Now listen, I'm putting this out. This is recorded, so don't nobody come out with my book. No,
Yeah, you don't have to tell them if you don't want to. You can keep
it's
it.
okay. It's all good because I got so many ideas in my head it don't even matter. But no, this one is about children of different abilities. And you know how kids pick on kids who have different abilities. Well, they're going to go on a field trip. And the field trip is going to be to an amusement park with all the big rides and everything. And all the other kids going to be afraid because of the rides are so big and bumpy and rolling and scary. Whereas all the kids with different abilities, since they've been poked and pried and everything else all their lives, they're really ready to get on these rides. So they're going to be the leaders.
They're gonna look at the kids and say, "We got this, Sugarfoot," and get right.
Yes. And they gonna basically give the other kids the courage to do what was necessary to begin with. And by the end, the other kids are gonna love them and be their best friends and gonna start appreciating different abilities and asking questions versus judging. They'll just ask questions to learn about the ability. So yeah, I got all kind of stuff in my
I
head.
think
But
that's cool. Yeah, I finished because I already have one children's book about the brain and being kind to people, and being kind to others is good for your own brain, but being kind to others is healthy for their brain, because then we're all picked on and bullied. It just messes with their head. So that's in there. But I have a book right now. It's already written, but the person I use as an illustrator isn't doing it anymore. So I'm trying to find another work. I use
I
Fiverr.
know a couple illustrators too, so
Okay.
yeah, I can pass.
Once I get the illustrator, it's going to be done.
We should get in the book together because you have the ear and I have the stroke. So we both have our own different abilities we dealing with. We should do it.
Yeah, let's do that. I would love to do that. Yeah, because in my other book about the brain, I talk about, because when I was in school, because my other book is I'm Not Stupid, I Have Hearing Loss, and it talks kind of like your book. It talks about what I went through. Then it gives some tips and stuff in the end of if you have hearing aids and stuff like that. Yeah, because when I was in school, I had a hard time learning. When we were learning multiplications and things like that in third grade and reading comprehension, the teacher would read us stuff and give us questions like she didn't read that because I wasn't hearing. But they would tell me, "Oh, honey, it's because your parents are divorced." I think I was like the first kid in the neighborhood to have parents divorced. So I called it dummy English and dummy reading. And then when I got to college, I would sit, you could sit where you want using college classrooms. So I would sit in the front to the left and I could comprehend. And then I realized I don't hear out of my left ear. That's why I can hear better if the teacher's on this side of me. So then I ended up with hearing aids, and I go, "Oh my God." So they didn't think I ever heard the letter S up until 2 hearing aids ago, probably 5 years ago. I never heard the letter S. I just always was good at reading lips. So yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. We're doing that, partner. My Sugarfoot partner. Okay. So my question was, how, and this would be good for other stroke survivors, moms and dads, but who have kids.
Okay.
How did all that go with your kids? How are they with it? I mean, now they're so used to it because they were so young, right?
Yeah, they were so young when it happened, but when it first happened, my oldest, like I said, he was 5. He walked in the room and he immediately bawled out. He cried. But that's because I didn't look like the mom he knew.
He was scared. You know what's happening.
Right. And when I talked, I didn't sound like myself because, again, I couldn't articulate what I was trying to say. So I don't really know what I said to him, to be honest. But I know I wasn't myself, and I remember trying to tell him it's gonna be okay. But he was crying and crying and crying. And I would just hold him and all that. And once I came home, they were happy just to have me home. But I don't think it got really real until like we went to the store together and my oldest was like, "Mom, you walk so slow." And I just started bawling. I cried so hard because I was slow. But he was a kid. He didn't know. So it was definitely hard on them. But I think what made it a little bit easier, because my first one actually had to have counseling because he remembered seeing me hitting the floor. He remembered me peeing on myself. He remembered
He got traumatized a bit from
he
it.
was traumatized. He was definitely
Plus,
traumatized.
all the adults were in the garage helping you. They're like, "We need to call the ambulance." Probably hearing everybody's.
And they actually hadn't known yet. They didn't know yet. When he first saw everything, they didn't even know yet. It took for my husband to call them and tell them to come and check on me when he couldn't get to me.
Oh,
By
okay.
the time they came in, my son was already over me, bawling and crying and all that. So he remembered everything. So we had to go to counseling. But I would maybe 2 months after my stroke, my youngest, I was volunteering in his classroom because he was in preschool at the time. So when I took him to school, I stayed with him all day, every day. So that was part of my healing because I wasn't just sitting focused on my stroke. I was more focused on my son, seeing his mama be okay. Because one of my things after I knew I was coming home and I was redefining myself and recreating memories and thoughts and all that, my thing was my babies saw me fall, they're gonna watch me rise. So it was so important for me to just show my strength that I don't think I had time to let them really focus on what mommy couldn't do, because I would put on my AFO and I would go on the trampoline still, and I would just do as much as I could without showing that I was in pain, without showing that I'm hurting, I would do all my crying in the shower so they couldn't see it. So that kept it at a minimum, but I was honest with the fact that I wasn't the only one in trauma, that I didn't go through this by myself.
Yeah.
So, if anything, I think me being honest with who I was and not letting it affect me as much helped them to see not only my strength, but to see people for their hearts and not for their abilities. Because now when they see people in wheelchairs and whatever tool that they're using to get around, it's not a staring thing. It's more of, I can help this person, and they just care on a whole different level because, yeah. So I think in a way it was a good thing because it, like I said, it gets to show them to care about a person for the person, not for their abilities or what they can do for them. Whereas now most kids are shallow, and it's, oh, they're in a wheelchair so they don't talk to them. What, my kids could talk to anybody. They
So
got
your
friends.
kids are teenagers now, right?
My oldest is a teenager. My youngest is 1 year away from being a teenager. He's 12. And they both got friends of different abilities, of different statures, because they don't see abilities. They just see if you're a good person or not. So I think my stroke was kind of, yeah, it
Yeah.
definitely was a benefit for them because they really do. Like right now, my oldest just came and he told me he got a girlfriend. And it's wonderful because he broke up with a girl because she didn't have a good heart. But this girlfriend, he likes her because she's nice and she's helpful and she's smart. And the stuff that other kids don't really think about, man thinks about because he's more into the heart of a person.
That's nice. Yeah, because you get a lot of they're too nice. I can't date them stuff. The people, why are
Or
you too nice? You want someone nice. You want
or you're
someone
worried about her body and what she looked like on the outside. Whereas he more worried about what kind of man you got. So for me, I'm like, hey, I did something right because
they ever say if they want to like be a doctor or a nurse or physical therapist as they get older or anything because of what you went through?
no, my oldest actually wants to be a marine biologist. And my youngest, he's all over the place, but he's mainly a gamer. But he's talking about engineering and all kind of stuff. But he's 12, so he haven't quite made his mind up. But I honestly wouldn't be surprised if somewhere down the line they didn't end up in some type of health field of some sort. Even if that was just like with personal training. Because my oldest likes to help people work out and get their exercise on.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a blessing in disguise.
Yeah. Well, I am so happy we met. I met you through Monica
Uh-huh.
because everyone's in all into the different stroke recovery support groups on Facebook, and I had mine that I did, and yeah, I think that's how I met you through her. She's looking really good now too. She's doing well.
Yeah, I seen her doing her thing. But yes, that's how we met. So I told you that day you was stuck with me. You still stuck with me. So
Like that. So I swear I can talk to my people on my podcast for hours and hours. Like, oh yeah, it's like people won't want to listen to us for 4 hours.
uh, but we can always do this again. You can have me on as much as you want, and I actually want to have you on mine. So we
Oh,
can
I
actually
love that. Yeah. And I really want to, I think we should collaborate on a book. That would be fun.
I would love it.
I'm, I could, like my last, I don't know how I did this book so fast. I can't believe I published a book like 11 days before my mom died. I did it through my cell phone. But what it was is when I was in my early 20s, because I didn't grow up with, like a lot of things you see now, I didn't grow up with people encouraging me, oh, you're so smart, you're so this, you're that. I kind of, like you, I had to build myself. I was on my own. I had to find, I have that thing too. Like when I've gone to counseling in different parts of my life, they'd say, oh my God, you just have something in there that kept you going. Because most people would be on drugs and out in the world living the life you grew up with. And I didn't go through the things you've been through. I've been through some, but not as bad as you went through. But they would tell me, we don't know how you got through this and you're the way you are. I'm like, I don't know. But they always say there's something, there's this inner thing that just is a fighter. It's not, hard as it is, you just get up and you keep pushing through. Anyway, I did that again. I don't know where I was going with that. Oh, the book thing. So anyway, so when I was in my 20s, so I did, and we'll finish in a second. I went to cosmetology school during high school. I'm like ROP. And then I was 17, I graduated high school. And then I was working at a hair salon full time by 18. I got my license, just working full time in hair salon. And I assisted this gentleman named Vern 4 days a week, and Saturdays I had my own booth. So anyway, I was having some struggles because, I really want you to go to this counselor at my church.
Uh-huh.
So I did. And the first thing she told me to do is I want you to write down 10 things you like about yourself. And I was like, what the hell does that mean? I didn't understand. She's like, you have pretty green eyes. You have nice earlobes. You have pretty hair. I'm like, we're allowed to think that's, I mean, I was never raised with
Right.
compliments. And I mean, I wasn't like yelled at instead of stupid and stuff, but I didn't have any of that. So I had to kind of, like, we're allowed to think nice things of ourselves. So I started making a list. And so that made me, I started this little journal that I would write down or see positive quotes. Kind of like now, you can follow Instagram and people have positive quotes every day. Well, I made my own. So when I felt sad or like I'm not good enough for something, I would go read it. And I always told myself I was to put in a book one day. So it wasn't hard to put in a book because I pretty much just copied a sentence that is like one sentence on each page with a picture inside. So I did it through my cell phone and through Fiverr. And then I looked back and like, oh my God, I published a book. As my mom, I was caregiving for my mom. It was just like, she's sleeping, let me do this. I kept my mind going. But I wasn't on my computer. It was all through the phone. I'm like, how the hell did I do that? I don't think it sold any books on Amazon like my other books, but I did it. But it would be what you scroll through social media now and see, positive quotes, this and that. I made one for myself, and that got me through stuff. It was my own little build myself up.
Right.
So, and my point with that being is, I can do a book pretty quick.
There you go. So I'm fine with that.
We can just get it going because I have something.
We both talk a lot. We can just get going.
We'll do one every week. It's the illustration that takes the longest. If I have illustrations, but
yeah, I know a couple illustrators. So
good. Okay, so we'll talk. Oh, well, thank you so much for being here. And I do think you should be in Bill's thing. And also, oh, what's his name's really good too. Oh my God, I'm forgetting everybody's name right now.
Text me these names you're talking about so I can reach out to them. Yes,
I'll send him to you. He's I've been in his show like 3 times, and he has his own stroke podcast, he does stroke TV.
Okay.
Villa, Lessons of Villa, and huh?
So my Aaron
Avila, that's his name. Yeah, he's very nice. He's had stroke and a wheelchair and stuff, but he's like you. He's doing stuff out there and bringing his positiveness and.
Oh yeah, I've worked with Aaron once before. I was supposed to do some more stuff with him, but that's another conversation we'll have outside of our recording.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, thank you, and
my pleasure, sugar. I am honored.
Don't hang up yet. I'm going to stop the recording. So everybody, thank you for listening to the Health and Fitness Show with Tracy. Check out Joy. I will put all the links with all the things we share. I share this on YouTube and I will post on other podcast channels. And all the things you'll see, all the links to her. Do you have a webpage that sends everybody to everything?
Well, I'm getting it recreated. So I have a webpage, strengthenyou.org, but I'm getting it redone, resituated. So
And she is Cynthia with a Y, Cynthia, Joy, Joi, Towner, right?
yes. And if you
On
want to find me via Facebook, just go to facebook.com/Joy Towner or /I'm Strive. And that's where you'll see all of the goofy stuff with my Strengthen You page.
and plus on Amazon there's her book, and it's on Kindle and paperback.
Yes.
And it's a quick read. Didn't take long to read.
No, it's a quick little read.
I read it, I don't know, in an hour or two. It wasn't that long. Or maybe longer. I don't know. It wasn't that long. That's how my books are too. They're not super long. It's just
Yeah, when I made it, I had stroke survivors in mind. Attention span ain't that long.
yes. Like when I did my books for stroke survivors, I started making them larger print as well. Everybody's exhausted. The caregivers are exhausted. The stroke survivors are exhausted. Bigger, we're older, we're exhausted. We need reading glasses. Bigger words are helpful.
Yeah.
So, and it's just to the point. They don't need 4 pages to describe one thing you can do in a sentence. It's just get to the point. We're tired. We don't need.
For real, yes.
So thank you everybody for listening. If you again, you follow my podcast, you'll see more in her. It's Tracy's Health and Fitness Show with Tracy. I'm www.tracymarkley.com, TracyMarkley.com, and on there you'll see links to everything. And everybody have a great day and be kind to yourself and be kind to others. Bye.
Bye, Sugarfoots.